Hi, I'm Stephanie. I am Clay's daughter, and you are Mr. Carroll's class, or you refer to him as Carrell or Mr. Carrell, or the guy who tells us what to do all the time. But he's told you a lot about me throughout the years, and so I wanted to tell you about me from my own experience and also let you know how I feel about special education and having learning disabilities, or as they refer to now, learning differences. So I just wanted to tell you about my experience because I think it's important that someone tells our side of the story, right? So I want to show you this little girl. This little girl in an Orphan Annie dress, which was very cool at that time, is named Stephanie. That's little Stephanie, and she looks so happy. She's so happy, and she is happy, but the other part of her is that she's terrified. She's terrified that people will find out that she's dumb, that she can't do things like read very well, which she learns how to do later. Adding, subtracting is really hard. And things like telling time was really hard. So really simple things like following directions or people talking and her being able to get everything that they're saying was really, really difficult. And so it took someone like a Clay to recognize it and to work with me a little bit about it. And I think, as you know, having learning differences, people tend to put you in little categories. Like they'll say, oh, is it dyslexia? And there's nothing wrong. It's great if you have dyslexia, but if it's not dyslexia, if it's something else, you try to describe it to people, and they go, oh, so what is it? What is it that you have? So trying to say, auditory discrimination problems, people probably won't get that, right? But you learn how to do things like compensate, right? Like, for example, here's one that you might relate to. Oh, hey, do you know what time it is? So a lot of people would be able to just tell time, right? They'd be able to look at that thing and in their brain they'd count 1, 2, 3 or whatever and they could do it. But for someone like me or maybe somebody for like you, telling time is like the hardest thing that you can imagine. And being asked to tell time in that moment and not being able to is like someone looking into your soul and saying you can't do it, and you feel like the littlest person in the world, or someone saying like, hey, why don't you come up to the board and add this thing, right? Even 2 plus 2, even though now we know 2 plus 2, when you're going up into the board and doing it in front of other people, you freeze. You're totally terrified that someone's going to know that you can't do it, or that it's going to take time. Even now as a grown-up, okay? Even now as a grown-up, I have to count on my fingers. When I do bills at restaurants, I have to go like this, right? I have to write things out, and I'm still not good at telling time. I'm really not. I mean, I've learned how to do it, but the thing about having a learning difference is that you get good at other things, right? Because you're trying to compensate, so you do things like you be the funniest kid in the class, or if you know the answer, you raise your hand really quick so that oh, I know that one, I can answer that one, right? These are all things that you can probably relate to. And you might think, oh, I'm in special education and I'm always going to have that label as a special ed kid. But you can label yourself however you want. And for me, I learned that I wasn't good at adding or reading very well, but I was good at reading people, and I was good at expressing myself, and that turned into being an actress and being a comedian and being funny. And so there were things that I could do, like get in front of other people and talk, that maybe some other people wouldn't be as good at. And so there are a ton of things like that that you are probably good at. Maybe it's like working with your hands and putting things together, or maybe it's doing sports, or maybe it's listening to music. Maybe you're really good at mixing up music on an iPod or something like that, right? So there are things that you are really, really good at, and you've learned how to be good at. And just because you can't do that thing that everyone says is so simple and everyone should just be able to do it, doesn't mean that you can't succeed. We had to stop it because there was a plane that went. This is actually my backyard for real, so we're not in a studio or anything. So this is another version of that little Orphan Annie girl. This is the high school me who looks like Shannon Doherty wannabe with blonde hair via Carrell. But here she is, and that's me doing things that I'm really good at, right? Like acting and meeting people and socializing and English, and I was getting better, much, much better at reading and doing things. But there were still a lot of things that I didn't know how to do, like add or subtract very well still, or tell time still, or lots of things like that. So I had to kind of make up for it. But I faked it till I maked it, basically. That's a good motto. Fake it till you make it. do the things that you know you're good at, and you still learn the things you're not so good at. But you have to keep going, no matter what, even if you still feel like that little kid who doesn't know the answer, right? So we just had to stop again because someone was drilling next door. How dare they, on a Sunday, use their tools when I'm trying to film a video for you? Okay, so now this is something called an accommodation sheet. How great is that? Which means that through college, undergraduate and graduate, I went on to get my master's degree. And not only did I go on to get my master's degree, but I got my licensure it's called an LICSW, which is a clinical social worker, which basically means that I really want to stand up for people, and I really want to listen to people when they're having really tough times. And I'm a really good person in terms of being able to meet someone where they're at the hardest time in their life and help them through it. And that's something that I learned how to do by listening and by watching and by doing the things that I was good at. And you can do that too. You could go to college, you could get your graduate degree, or there might be something else that is your dream or that you're good at that you can go for. And nowadays you have things like cell phones that can help you do things really quickly, like tell time or add and subtract, right? And I didn't have that. I would have loved that, but I didn't have that. But I would encourage you, even the things that you are really scare you and you think there's no way I could learn that, I would encourage you just to try a little bit, because the things that I tried just a little bit, I got better at. And it's not that I'm great at them now, but I can do them a little more, even if it takes adding under the table with my fingers, which I still do, right? So I just want to say to you that it takes one person to care about you, to really get you, to make it all worth it. And for me, that person was Clay. And I feel like I'm so glad that you have him. And also, I know you spent 4 years with Mr. Carrell. and I hope that you know that no matter what, even after Clay retires and you guys graduate, that there'll be that moment in your life where you get scared, where someone shines a light on you in that moment because you don't know how to do something. And that'll never stop. There'll always be a moment where you get, oh my gosh, you're in the headlights, you're a deer in the headlights because you don't know how to do that thing that everyone else knows how to do. And you're so scared that they're going to know. And in that moment, I want you to say to yourself, I am a good person, I am a worthy person, I am a smart person, and I am just as good as anyone else, and I can do whatever I want, because you can.